After his divorced brother returned, my husband suddenly filed for divorce and mocked me at a freedom party. So I stayed silent, rebuilt my life, and watched him lose everything. He's been begging me to come back for 8 months. I haven't responded once. I didn't see it coming. That's the part that still gets me even now. I wasn't naive. I wasn't blind. I was just in love with someone I genuinely trusted, and I never thought that trust would be used against me. My name is Claire. And I need you to hear the whole story before you form an opinion, because the version my ex-husband told people and the version that actually happened are two very different things. Marcus and I met in our late 20s. We weren't some whirlwind romance. We were slow and steady, the kind of couple that took their time, talked about everything, built something real before we ever made it official. We got married on a Saturday in September. Small ceremony, close friends, his family, mine, nothing extravagant, just honest. For 4 years we were solid, not perfect, solid. We argued about dishes and money and whose turn it was to call the plumber. Normal stuff, real stuff. The kind of friction that comes from two people actually sharing a life instead of just performing one. I worked full-time in project management. Marcus was in sales, good at it, made decent money, and I supported every career move he made even when it meant I had to pick up the slack at home. I didn't mind. That's what you do when you're building something together. Then his brother Tyler came back to town, and everything I thought we were building quietly started coming apart. Tyler is 41 years old, and on his second divorce. Actually, by the time he moved back, it was his third failed long-term relationship. He bounced between cities, between women, between jobs, with this energy that made him seem exciting from a distance and exhausting up close. Marcus always made excuses for him. Tyler just hasn't found the right situation yet. Tyler's too smart for most people to handle. Tyler sees things other people don't. I never said what I actually thought, which was that Tyler was a grown man who consistently made destructive choices and then looked for someone else to blame. But I kept that to myself. He was Marcus's brother, not my place. At first, Tyler's return just meant more guys' nights, more Sunday afternoon visits that ran long. I didn't complain. I'd make myself scarce, catch up with friends, let them have their time, but then something shifted. Marcus started coming home different, not tired different, not stressed different, distant different, like he was physically present but mentally somewhere else entirely. He stopped asking about my day, stopped reaching for my hand during movies, stopped doing the 100 small things that had always been just ours. I noticed. Of course I noticed. I brought it up gently, the way you do when you're scared of the answer but more scared of not asking. He said I was overthinking it. Said I was too sensitive. Said I always had to make everything into a problem. That last one landed different because I recognized it. That wasn't Marcus talking. That was Tyler's voice coming out of Marcus's mouth. 6 weeks after Tyler came back, Marcus sat me down at our kitchen table on a Tuesday morning. He didn't make eye contact. He slid a folder across the table. Divorce papers, already drafted, already signed on his end. I just stared at them. He said he felt trapped, said he'd been unhappy for a long time, said we were incompatible and that he'd finally been honest with himself about it. The whole speech was rehearsed. I could hear it. The pauses were in the wrong places. The words were too clean, too organized. He hadn't found those words himself. Someone had handed them to him. I asked him if Tyler had anything to do with this. He said, Tyler just helped me see clearly. I didn't scream, didn't throw anything, didn't beg. I picked up the folder, stood up, and went to the bedroom to call my sister. 2 weeks later, I signed the papers. I moved into a 2-bedroom apartment on the east side of town. Clean, quiet, mine. I painted the accent wall in the living room a deep green, because I'd always wanted a deep green wall, and Marcus thought it was too bold. I bought throw pillows in colors that didn't match, and a coffee table I found at an estate sale that was slightly too big for the space. I loved every inch of it. Meanwhile, Marcus and Tyler were living their best lives, or performing their best lives, which is a different thing entirely. About 3 weeks after the divorce was finalized, I got a text from a mutual friend. Did you see what Marcus posted? I hadn't been on social media, hadn't wanted to be, but I looked. He'd thrown a party, an actual party, called it a freedom celebration. There were balloons and a custom cake and a banner that said new chapter in gold letters. Tyler was front and center in every photo, arm around Marcus, grinning like he'd won something. But the part that made my stomach drop was the caption. Marcus had written, Grateful for the people who helped me realize my worth. Sometimes the best thing you can do is walk away from what was holding you back. What was holding him back? 4 years of showing up for that man, adjusting my schedule around his career, spending holidays with his family when mine was 3 states away, asking where I'd been, supporting every risk he ever took with my full emotional and financial backup, and I was what was holding him back. I put my phone face down on the counter, took a breath, and decided right then that I was never going to give either of them the reaction they were looking for. Here's what nobody tells you about staying quiet when someone humiliates you. It works. Not immediately, not in a satisfying dramatic way, but slowly, steadily, it works better than anything else you could do. I didn't post anything, didn't subtweet, didn't tell my side of the story to every mutual friend who texted asking if I was okay. I just said I was fine and meant it more each time I said it. I picked up extra hours at work, got promoted 2 months after the divorce, started going to a Saturday morning yoga class that I'd always wanted to try but never had time for. I rebuilt my social life, called people I'd drifted from, said yes to dinners and events I would have skipped before. I started feeling like myself again, the version of myself that existed before I spent 4 years shrinking to keep the peace. And from what I heard, through mutual friends who couldn't help mentioning things, Marcus and Tyler's grand freedom life wasn't going quite as planned. The podcast they launched tanked after 5 episodes. The business idea they'd been hyping for months never got off the ground. Tyler, who had supposedly opened Marcus's eyes to a better way of living, was sleeping on Marcus's couch because his own living situation had fallen apart. The man who had 3 failed relationships and a philosophy about freedom was freeloading off my ex-husband in the house I used to live in. I found that out on a Thursday and laughed for a full minute. About 4 months after the divorce, the texts started. First one was casual. Hey, hope you're doing well. I left it on read. A week later, saw something that reminded me of you. Hope work is going good. Read, no response. Then they got longer. More specific. He started referencing inside jokes, old memories, places we used to go together. I read every single one, responded to none. I wasn't being cruel. I genuinely had nothing to say. He had made his choice with confidence and speed. Signed those papers like our marriage was a lease he was happy to let expire. Threw a party. Posted about freedom. What exactly was I supposed to respond to? Then one evening I ran into him at a grocery store. He looked rough, not devastated, just worn down. The kind of tired that comes from living a life that doesn't actually fit you. He saw me across the produce section and walked over immediately, like he'd been waiting for the chance. Said I looked great. Said he'd been thinking about me. Asked if I wanted to grab coffee sometime just to catch up, just to talk. I smiled, put a bag of apples in my cart. I don't think so, I said. But I hope you're doing okay. And I walked away. He called my name once. I didn't turn around. The begging started around month 6. Long messages, paragraphs. Voice notes I listened to once and deleted. He said he'd made a mistake. Said Tyler had gotten in his head, twisted every small complaint he'd ever had into proof that our marriage was broken. Said he'd been manipulated by someone who was jealous of what we had, because he'd never been able to build anything like it himself. He said he missed me every single day. He said he wanted to start over. Clean slate. Do it right this time. I read each message once. Then I put my phone down and went back to my life. Because here's the thing Marcus still doesn't understand. There is no clean slate. You don't get to hand someone divorce papers on a Tuesday morning with a rehearsed speech and a folder you prepared without telling them. You don't get to throw a party and post about freedom and call your wife what was holding you back. You don't get to do all of that and then show up 8 months later asking for a reset. That's not how it works. Not with me. Last month he showed up at my apartment building. I saw him from my window, sitting on the steps outside the entrance, hands clasped, waiting. I watched him for a moment, then I texted my sister, Marcus is outside my building. She responded in 30 seconds, do not go down there. I didn't. I watched him sit there for 45 minutes. Then he left. He texted me that night. Said he just wanted 5 minutes. Said he knew he didn't deserve it but he was asking anyway. I read it, closed the app, made dinner. Watched a show I'd been meaning to catch up on. Went to bed at a reasonable hour and slept completely fine. Here's where I am right now. I got promoted again last month. Senior Project Manager. The kind of title I'd put on hold because Marcus's career always felt more urgent than mine. I booked a trip to Portugal for the spring. Solo. Something I've wanted to do for years and never let myself prioritize. My apartment looks exactly the way I want it to look. Every corner of it is a decision I made entirely for myself. I talk to my family more, see my friends more, laugh more, genuinely, not the performed laugh I used to do when I was tired and pretending everything was fine. I'm not angry at Marcus anymore. Anger would mean I'm still carrying him around, and I put that weight down a long time ago. What I feel now is just clarity. He showed me exactly who he was the moment he let his brother rewrite 4 years of real history with a few months of cheap advice. He showed me how quickly he could look at everything I gave him and decide it wasn't enough, that I wasn't enough, because someone bitter and broken told him so. That's information. Painful information, but information. And what I did with it was build a life that doesn't have room for people who need someone else's permission to recognize my value. Tyler, by the way, is gone. Moved out of Marcus's place about 2 months ago. Moved in with a woman he met online. From what I heard, that's already a disaster. Marcus is alone in that house now. No brother, no wife, no podcast. No business, no party. Just the silence of a choice he made way too confidently and way too fast. He's still texting occasionally. I haven't responded in 8 months. I don't plan to start. So that's my story. Was I too cold? Should I have at least given him a conversation? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I genuinely want to hear different perspectives on this one. And if any part of this hit close to home, hit that like button. It means more than you know. Thanks for listening.